to the platform. Okay, Mollie's agreed to join us today. She's a little bit nervous, but we're going to ask her some questions. Now, I'd really love it if we had the technology, Mollie, that we could say that if anybody else who's watching wants to ask you a question, then they could text it in. But unfortunately, we're not quite there yet. But I've got some questions, and hopefully you will find what Mollie's got to say and her life story really interesting. So, obviously, we know what your name is now, Mollie. Mollie, just tell us what you do 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
I work in a school for autistic students.
Okay,
So,
school for autistic students. And how long have you done that for?
Just over a year, not very long.
Just over a year.
Yeah.
Okay, and are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Can you see yourself with a future in education?
Yeah, I'm hoping to go to uni one day to be a primary school teacher.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you love kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do they love you?
Some of them.
I hope so.
Depends.
Good. All right. And anything else big happened in your life in the last couple of years?
I got married. Is that what you want?
Married? Yeah, that's what I was getting at. How long ago did you get married?
Oh, year and a half.
Year
maybe.
and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, looking to Joseph for nods. Yeah, year and a half. Fantastic. And how's married life treating you?
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Still like each other?
Yeah.
Of course. Fantastic. Okay, I want to dive a little bit into your history, okay?
Yeah.
So not kind of your real personal history because, well, we're not doing that, but I'd like to know, and I'm sure everybody else would like to know, what did you think? So you've just said that you want to be involved in education for some time. How about when you were younger? What did you think you wanted to be when you grew up? What did you want to do when you grew up?
When I was really young.
Yeah, well, let's start there, when you were really
Okay.
young.
When I was really young, I still wanted to be a teacher. I used
Right.
to go to Asda and buy little notebooks and make Ella, my little sister, do maths lessons.
Really?
And I'd mark them.
And did she enjoy it? Did she get good marks?
No.
No. Okay. So from a very young
yeah.
age, you wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did that work? Well, obviously you're a teacher now, so
Yeah.
it's kind of worked out in a way.
Yeah.
Okay. But what about after that? Did your aspirations and desires, did they change?
Yeah. When I was in high school, I did loads of sport, and then that just kind of took over my life, and that's what I wanted to do instead. I wanted to be a footballer.
Right. So football was your sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the school football team.
Yep.
Okay. In any other football teams?
Yeah, I played football outside of school too. Yeah.
Okay. Inside school, outside school, all the time. Did you dream about football as well?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had aspirations to be a footballer.
Yeah.
Play for any particular team, or what did you want to do with that?
I wanted to play for the Leicester ladies.
Leicester ladies team. Okay.
So that was kind of my aim. That's where I wanted to go. And yeah, just be better and better and better.
Okay. How many hours a week would you say, roughly, on average, did you spend either playing football, thinking about football, or doing things like cleaning your boots or whatever else you have to do with football?
Quite a lot, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So would it be fair to say that your life was devoted to football?
Yeah. Football and other sports, but mainly football. Yeah.
Okay. And were you good?
I don't know. I'm not going to say yes.
Okay, well, I've heard that you're pretty good at football. You can still beat me at football anyway. No, it's not hard. That's very true. Okay. But do you play football now?
No.
Okay, so something's obviously happened between being good at football, not only having an aspiration to play football full time, but to being good at football and good enough as well. Just tell us a little bit about what went on in your life from around those kind of teenage years to do with football and everything else. Why did it no longer become everything to you?
That's a big question.
It is a bit. Well, let's start at the beginning. So what happened at the beginning?
So, focusing on football?
Yeah.
Okay. So I used to obviously be in a team and play all the time. And my football games were on Sundays. So then I used to play on Sundays as well.
So you used to play football on Sunday. did you have any involvement with church growing up?
Yeah, so my grandma was a Christian, and she took me and my little sister to church. And then my parents weren't Christians, and my grandma couldn't take us one day. So my mum took us, and then my mum became a Christian.
Right.
So we just went because my mum did.
So at this point when football was really big in your life, you were going along to church, and church was a thing that you did on Sundays.
Yeah, just went.
But then football became even bigger, and so you started playing football on Sundays.
Yeah.
And how long did that go on for?
Quite a while. So I went from going to church quite regularly to never.
Right.
Because I'd just go and play football games on Sundays. I don't know how long, quite a while.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. And was there a period of time where that all had to stop?
Yeah, so I actually have something wrong with my knee, which resulted in a really long operation and physio and blah de blah, and it meant that I had to stop, really.
Okay. And how old were you when that happened?
15, 16.
15, okay.
Yeah.
So was it fair to say, do you think, that at 15 years old, your ambitions and dreams of becoming a pro footballer were, how would you describe it?
Well, no more.
No more. Okay. They were no more. Okay. Crushed, squashed, gone out the window.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one big thing taken out of your life.
Yeah.
And you couldn't play football for a little while after that. Was there anything else emotional or anything else big going on in your life at that time?
Yeah, well, I think high school, I was a really quite anxious person and self-conscious, so I'd do whatever I could to make sure I had friends and would rely on them to make myself happy, basically.
Okay.
So I had a good group of friends. Obviously, I loved sport and had a boyfriend at the time, so that was all going good. And then, after I found out about my knee with the operation, and then got cheated on by my boyfriend, and then all my friends fell out with me, so I became a loner.
So it was like a triple whammy.
Yeah, triple whammy, all in one.
All in one. So that was still all roughly at the age of 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously that was GCSEs, so I was stressed.
Okay. All the extra pressure and stress from that as well. Okay, so football is out of your life.
Yeah.
The relationship and the boyfriend was out of your life.
Yeah.
And those friends, that kind of friendship circle was out of your life.
Yeah.
So everything that you'd kind of found self-worth, self-value, kind of importance, and you looked to what other people thought of you to see how you thought of yourself. How did it feel when all of that stuff just went and it was gone?
Sad.
Sad.
Yeah, I really struggled. I didn't go to school for a while, just refused to go.
Okay.
Felt very low, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Very low. But it gave you a bit of space, didn't it? It gave you some time to think.
Yeah.
So do you want to just explain to anybody who's listening what happened in the middle of that time? So all of that big stuff out of your life, and there was a void and a vacuum. How did you find something to fill that vacuum?
Well, obviously because I'd grown up in church, I always knew about God, and I think he was in my head, but just right at the back. And then everything else, like the friends and the boyfriend and football, was always in front. So I guess when that got took away from me, and that was all out of my head now because it was nothing to do with me anymore, I think God was pushed forward a bit, and I remembered little bits from what I'd learnt from church when I was there. So I started to think about who he actually was and what he would provide for me, I guess.
Would you have called yourself a Christian at that point?
Probably not.
Okay.
No.
Would you call yourself a Christian now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's something that's happened on that journey from having all those things stripped away, not being a Christian, to being a Christian now. So you said that going to Sunday school and being taught at least some things about who God is and what he's like and how he relates to you. That was important.
Yeah.
What led you to begin to ask questions, begin to find out more about this God who has now kind of filled this space, or at least come to the forefront now that nothing else was in that space? So what kind of led you to the point of being able to ask questions?
Well, I knew that I needed, because I'd put so much, I was trying to find satisfaction in everything else but God. And I think I came to a point where I realised that no matter what I put my trust in, if it's not God, it's not going to satisfy me. I tried with putting satisfaction in friends and boyfriends and football and sport and everything like that, and it let me down. So I knew that I wasn't going to be happy unless I reached out and took God seriously. And he kind of filled that satisfaction that I'd been looking for all my life. And I remember thinking, I don't actually know. I remember bits from church of how I'm gonna, start that relationship with God. I need to pray and I need to repent. But I didn't completely know. So I was just here's what I know, God. I hope it's enough. And I think because I took it seriously and really wanted to know God and have that relationship with him, it then made me want to ask questions and find out what I'd done
Okay.
when I prayed.
Well, we'll come on to how that happened in just a second. But it seems like you had the opportunity and you found out that actually all those things you were putting satisfaction in, they weren't really satisfying you.
No.
So almost you could say that was a bit like a wake-up call,
Yeah.
which is, of course, what the theme of our session this afternoon is. So having those things stripped away was your wake-up call.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've now begun to ask a few more questions, or you've begun to think, who are you, God? What happened next?
What after?
Who did you turn to? Where did you go to try and find out the answers to these questions?
Well, I actually came to a camp at Arnsby where I met Ellie, the person that was singing. And we started a book called The Stranger, and I found that really helpful. And we just spoke about stuff, and I feel like every time we met I'd be like, I know this is a stupid question, but yeah, and then I just asked questions and found the book helpful.
And how did that feel, going to someone saying, I don't know the answer to this, but I'd like to know? How did that feel?
A bit embarrassing and just, because I was so self-conscious before. I was worried, she's going to think I'm a weirdo.
What people are going to think of you.
But no, it was good to just ask.
But it's a good job you did.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Now, some people might be watching thinking, well, I don't even know half of the stuff that you knew when you were asking the questions. What would you say to someone who is kind of thinking, I want to know, but I'm afraid of looking stupid, and I'm afraid of what people will think of me? And it might be that people are just naturally shy and self-conscious, or it might be that people have built up this kind of facade for themselves, and actually they find it really hard to move past that and make themselves vulnerable again. What advice would you give to that person?
Don't worry about being self-conscious or embarrassed to ask questions, because it's important. Me making myself vulnerable and asking those questions has completely changed my life and has given me a purpose. And one day I know that I'm going to be with God for eternity, and that's a massive thing. And if I would have not just made myself vulnerable because I thought people were going to take the mick out of me, then my life would be very different. And I think it's just important to just find out what's the worst that can happen. You know, you just ask.
Just ask. So there you go, just ask. And anybody here at this church would love you to just ask those questions. Well, we're going to finish there. I'm sure you've probably got other questions that you would want to ask Mollie, and I do as well, but we'll save them for another time. Mollie, thank you so much. You can go and have a seat now. We're going to hand back over to our music team because they're going to sing another song for us. So just sit back and enjoy that and think about some of the things that you've just heard from Mollie's life story, some of the questions that she was asking, some of the situations she found herself in. Sit back and listen, and then we're going to have a brief think about this this kind of theme of a wake-up call. Over to you guys.